I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about some clips of President Joe Biden, former president, thank God, on The View. I mean, thank God that it's former. I don't thank God that he was president, but thank God that's at least in the past. But he went on The View and was asked questions, and apparently, they want a tell-all book or whatever to kind of come out and stuff. And but they're talking, just doing kind of a general interview. So of course they talked about the election and some of the stuff that they brought up. Biden is still saying that he would have won. That he can live in his la la land and doesn't have to live with him losing. And who knows? Maybe he could have won, but he lost and he stepped out because everybody was confident that he was going to lose, and that's what the polling was pointing to. But they said that people were really going hard on the sexism route when it came to Kamala Harris. Like, that was the campaign tactics used against her. And that is just not true. I mean, I'm not saying that people didn't have discussions about that, but as far as that being the driving force of why she didn't win, that's not the case. So I want to talk about that and other things. Anna Navarro had some comments on CNN that I want to play too. Also, Columbia University, there was some protests the other day, and a lot of people got arrested. And it seems like they're cracking down more because Trump is breathing down their neck as far as civil rights and them not doing anything or doing enough to ensure the safety of Jewish students. So at least they called the police this time around. But I don't know if they're going to really prosecute these people who have broken the law and caused property damage and other things like that, disruptions and so on. And until you see some consequences, you'll continue to see some stuff like this happen. So whatever they do, it's got to end up sticking for sure. And we'll touch on some other things as well. But before we jump into it, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost a stream, run my site, all the good stuff. So if you guys can support, I very much do appreciate it and appreciate you guys. Thank you to those in the chat. A New Jersey mayor arrested. See that in the chat. Thank you to those who watch live and to those of you who watch back. Yes, New York mayor arrested. Newark mayor arrested for alleged trespass at New Jersey ICE detention facility. People so desperate for some attention. Well, I'll read over that quickly. I encourage you guys to go to my website, check out stuff there, check out different merch on the site, and check out my different books that are also available. I do want to remind you all that next week is Motor City Comic Con. So I'll be in Novi, Michigan on the weekend in Artist Alley, and I'll be selling some of my books. I've got like a shipment stuff coming. So I told you guys sometimes I have a reoccurring nightmare about going to conventions and not having enough books. So I made sure that I ordered my books so they would get here prior to convention. So at least that's at ease. My mind's at ease there. And so I'll be in aisle I3 and my sister will be next to me in I4, which we're usually next to each other. And she's going to be selling some of our art and I'll be selling my books. And Tina did the cover art for, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion. So she does wonderful stuff. She's got a range of things on her website. It's like tinastextportraits.com. So I encourage you guys to check out her stuff. But it should be a good time. I hope that it's a good time. Praying it's a good time. So there's a lot of cool people that I've gotten to know that come through Motor City, Comic-Con, basically every con now. So um I love talking to those guys. And that's always neat. Meeting new people, like-minded, creative, entrepreneurial people. It's always funny though, the people who are clearly like woke and left leaning who come to the table, who mean all the good in the world though. The people were like, I made sure to visit all the black tables. And I'm like, well, money's green. Like, I just smile and I'm like, okay. I will take your business. Or people who come and they see my book Super Kid and they're like, oh, I was looking for all this diversity, I'm so glad. And then they let a comment slip about that really alerts that they're left wing. I'm like, well, I hope you like the book and you like the values in it. uh but I'm grateful for every cell. Some people are just weird though. Just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. So anyway, I will be there on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday is a setup day. I'm gonna take the week off though, so I will not be live next week, with the exception of like tremendous, super juicy news like early in the week. But um I think we can wait and I can take some time and prepare and do some other things. Though I do plan to at least have maybe some short videos done. That's the plan. It's not a promise. It's not a promise, but it is a plan. It is a plan. So yeah, be out on the lookout and make sure that you guys are not only subscribed. I know sometimes these platforms unsubscribe people, but also hit the notification bells as well. So I think that's all. Then let's go ahead and jump to it. First thing I want to talk about, did y'all see the girl on Fox News who fell out, who passed out? If she like fainted on TV last night. And Cameron Kinsey. I'm not familiar with her, but it was crazy. And people were talking about this host and his reaction, that he didn't do enough. So
Oh my goodness. We're just going to get some help here for Cameron. Let me come back to Lydia while we get some help for Cameron here. Lydia, the president, we're going to go to a break right here. We'll be right back. Yeah. So hope she's okay. First of all, if it were me and I went down, I'm a big gal, so I don't expect somebody like to stop it. You better, unless the Lord sends his angels or something, I'm going down. Or you got some big linebacker catchers or something. I'm going down. But I would at least hope that you would just kind of pause the news and just see about me. Like, I know, like, obviously other people probably ran to help her out, but he was obviously the closest person in that vicinity. Some people are like just trying to stick up for him and say, he's not usually the anchor. There's a lot going on when you're on TV and you're the one who's delivering the news, and there's people in your ear, you're looking at the teleprompter, and then something like that happens. And I I just if it was me, like, bro, at least check my pulse. Like, it's okay. The news would have still been there. The news would have still been there. They should have just, like, him get up and they cut to commercial. They end up cut to commercial, but man,
check on me, please. I mean, do you guys remember when Destiny's Child was and I know because this is a viral clip of them walking Destiny's Child like on stage, doing their kind of diva walk, and one of them falls. It wasn't Beyonce, it was one of the other ones. And the other two just kind of look at her and just kind of keep it moving. I'm like, y'all ain't gonna help y'all friends. Like, come on. Like, I know the show's got to go on, but a fall is like one thing, but she, passing out, and that's I hope she's okay. I mean, that would suck, man. So I mean, there've been times I've just been live and I just did not feel well. I mean, you guys have witnessed like different coughing fits as I had to struggle through uh colds and perhaps flus and things I should have probably got checked out for, but um so just fainting on TV, man. Folks are talking about it for sure. Mostly about him though. Mostly about that. Oh, you've never seen that clip of oh, let me see if I can find it really, really quick. Really quick. Let me see. I'd have to see if I can find it on X though, because yeah, it was it was something. They just looked. It's not immediately coming up. At least I'm not on X. You can definitely find it though on YouTube. So may have to just do that in your own time. It was something though. They just kept it moving. They just kept it moving. I saw somebody did a fall compilation of different singers falling the other day, and I saw that on TikTok. Anyway, let's move on. Joe Biden went on The View, and apparently they're shopping around, working on a tell-all, and obviously people want to know about Biden's decline and if Jill would write about that. I don't see them coming clean about that ever. Not her. Maybe someone else would for money because they're Bidens. They do things for money. I don't think her, because while he's still alive, while she's alive, while they were all obviously in on it, and I mean, what's going to happen to him? But to stain yourself in front of the public, American public, like that, I don't see them doing it. Another Biden might do it. Someone else might do it for cash. The thing that I'm interested in and have always been interested in the tell-all situation is if she's going to admit to any dirt about Kamala and the tension there and not liking her, and I'm here for that drama. I'm here for that drama. I want to know about that drama. There was all this drama behind the scenes. There were things that would bleed into the news. And they Kamala had to have like 3-4 resets. And I feel like they made her the border czar to set her up to fail. And they didn't really like it too much. That was always the perception that I had from those were the things that I heard. And I just there are things that Biden did that kind of seemed like it was to sabotage Kamala. I don't know if those things were consciously done or not consciously done. I'm sure Kamala played a large role in forcing Biden out, so I wonder how many conversations they're aware of trying to invoke, the 25th Amendment. So I want to know the tea. I don't see them admitting to his cognitive decline. I don't, especially because she would be the one who's mostly viewed as the puppet master. I guess I'd be interested in kind of like those final days about them pushing him out. But if they're not going to be honest about his mind not being quite there, I don't see them being really honest and telling all, about how he got forced out. So if it could be a really juicy tell-all, man, but I don't think they have it in them to make it as juicy as it ought to be. Okay, I just don't see it. I don't think that's going to happen. But he did answer about his cognitive decline. I'm going to play that clip. I'm going to be very kind of selective of my view clips because I do get flagged by ABC very fast when I play clips from The View. So I want to focus. But by the way, when he answered the question about the cognitive decline, it was a not great answer, and Jill had to step in. I'm like, he's the former president of the United States. He doesn't need Jill there, or he shouldn't need Jill there. But you know, I think there's a reason why she's there to kind of be his handler in different situations. But they decided to talk about sexism as something that was on the campaign trail and the route that I guess Trump and his critics stuff decided to go. And that just wasn't the case. It absolutely wasn't the case.
But Mr. President, last time you were here was a little over a month before the election, and you had made the selfless and very difficult decision, I'm sure, to step aside. And Democrats were feeling optimistic about the vice president's chances of winning the presidency. But then election night came, and it was like 2016 all over again. Yeah. So why do you think the vice president?
Why are they saying it was a very like selfless or brave or whatever thing for him to step aside when he's still insisting that he would have beaten Donald Trump? Wouldn't the right thing to do would have been to stay in the race and actually win and secure another 4 years and continue on with your legacy and all the Democrat stuff that you want to do, and you know, protecting democracy and all those things. If you legitimately believe that you could win, could have won, and people are entertaining that belief, they know it's not true, I'm certain, but or I mostly suppose and assume that they know that Biden wouldn't have won, and that's why they wanted him out, to give them their best bet. I think they would have been would have had a better shot if he were the nominee. But they were concerned about the down ballot. And I don't know how much him dropping out would have saved it or not saved it. You know, I don't know. I think during elections, things can look really bad, and then the polls tighten up the closer you get to the end. So I think it's very hard in general to be an incumbent. People are used to them. They're like, we can go through another 4 years. But it's interesting that it started off as a rematch, though. You know, so it's possible that he could have won, but people weren't happy where they were in the country. So don't say he's brave and made a selfless decision if he's insisting that he could have won, but he dropped out and she dropped the ball. Like, stop with the narrative, you know?
President lost, and
let's just admit he got forced out. That's what happened. They were saying he's not going to drop out. That was the clear narrative up until the moment it was tweeted out. Tweeted! I'm still not all the way convinced that it was he's the one who put that out there. It's like, it's too late, Joe. You know, it's all in the atmosphere now. It was so bizarre. It was a tweet thrown up. It wasn't like a Sunday afternoon or something. Because when I heard the news, I was like, he for real dropped out? Because he was dead set against it. He got pushed out. Please stop trying to rewrite history. Please stop trying to rewrite history.
Were you surprised?
No. I wasn't surprised, not because I didn't think the vice president was the most qualified person to be president. She is. She's qualified to be president of the United States of America.
Yeah, right.
But I was surprised. I wasn't surprised because they went the route of the sexist route, the whole route. I mean, this is
the whole route.
She's this, she's that. I mean, it really, I've never seen quite a successful and a consistent campaign undercutting the notion that a woman couldn't lead the country, and a woman of mixed race.
Yeah.
And And they played that to a fairly well.
Okay. This man is clearly still losing it. When did Trump make that about the campaign? About her being a woman or a woman of color? When? Ever? When did he do that? The surrogates? When? When did that happen? I cannot think of an example. I can't think of an example. The closest thing is like Trump bringing up, like, you know, she says she's black, or like, is she black or whatever, when they had that one interview with the I think the black journalist. I think that's where he brought it up, and he was like asked about it. But that's not saying, well, she can't be president because she's a mixed woman. That was never. Oh my gosh, that would have been everywhere. That was never a part of it. And to say that is what they focused on, it's just delusional. Why lie? Why lie? Why lie like that? Trump didn't play, he didn't do any speeches about her sleeping around with a married man and Willie Brown, and you know, amassing power through that way. He didn't. I know some of the rumors about her and the things that she did out in California, and I know that he probably knows. There's no way he doesn't know at least some of the things that I know about her reputation outside of Willie Brown stuff. And did he mention it? No. Did the surrogates go out there and talk about it? Were there any No. They must have made a decision that we're not touching that stuff with a 10-foot pole. Because he can get really petty. Really, really petty. Some of the things that Trump did during the primaries were horrible. We're so immature. We're so dumb. We're so annoying. So petty. You know, blatantly lying about stuff about DeSantis, and they did some really crazy thing with I think they're calling Nikki Haley bird brain. So I think they sent like a bird in a cage, like, to her hotel room or something, and just had it outside the room. And people were like, no, that's not true. And then it was like, no, it was a Trump campaign. And then they're like, oh, it was brilliant. It was like, what? It was just the weirdest stuff. They had the bingo cards like during debate night, and they're like, had a space for when Ron DeSantis defends slavery. I was so mad about that. So Trump and them, they can do some crazy things if they want to. And they can go petty, and he could have brought up her being a whore. He could have did it if he wanted to, but he didn't. He didn't do it. He focused on the policy. He focused on her policy because she's on video saying crazy things. She's on video. I would love if there was an amazing female candidate that was gonna be the first female president or whatever. I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be great. You know, hopefully she's a Republican. Perhaps most likely it'll be Republican. I think Bill Clinton said something along those lines, that he thought, you know, the first female president could be a Republican woman or whatever. But that would be great. But I want her to be competent, and I want her to seem like she's going to be able to do the job, and that I'm going to like her policies. Because even if she is competent and she seems like she's going to do the job, I'm not going to support her if I don't like her policies or her vision of America. And especially if it's inferior to the person that she's running against. So you can't just be like, it's my moment, it's mine because I'm a woman and I'm a woman of color. that is really annoying. We already went through that with Hillary Clinton. It's her time. It's her turn. She stood by her man. Now this is payback. You gotta, it's her turn. Everybody get in line. Screw over Bernie Sanders at the DNC. It's in the supermajority votes or super delegates and all that stuff. Vote for her. Get in line. It's her turn. And Hillary heavily weighed in on the woman stuff. Heavily. They were criticizing Bernie Sanders like he was, sexist and stuff, or surrogates and so on during the primary. They really leaned into it, and people rejected it. And I'm sorry, I don't know how much you hate Hillary Clinton out there, but she's a far more competent woman than Kamala Harris. And she lost to Trump. She lost to Trump. And you think just because you dip her in some color, a woman in some color, you just think that person is going to win? No, there's still a substance issue. And then she's less competent. And then you don't like where the country is, and she's serving as the current vice president, and she doesn't have a good answer because she didn't want to throw Joe under the bus publicly anyway. So she didn't want to throw him under the bus to be like, oh, well, they made all those decisions there, and she couldn't really distance herself because Joe Biden kept going around saying, oh, we are lockstep, and like he constantly said stuff like that. Like there's no daylight between us. So if people don't like how things are currently, they're not going to reward you. So I don't understand why this lie. I don't understand this lie. There's so much other commentary you can say about the election and the race, and like Donald Trump kept pointing to the past, and he didn't focus on current things. He could have said something along those lines, because he did constantly point to things that she had said that she wasn't trying to focus on. That's not a good enough rebuttal, but it's at least it's truthful or something he could have said, rather than they focused on sexism and her color the whole time. It's just not true. It just drives me nuts, man. But he is a crazy old man. Crazy old Maurice. Now I want to listen to Anna Navarro, because she said something about racism and other stuff too. Man, I don't know if I dislike Anna more or if I dislike Sonny more. I'm not sure.
Racism, it's absurd. My point is, the idea that she lost because of racism is absurd. She lost because the country was in a disastrous place, and they blamed him and his politics that she had to defend.
Can I tell you something?
As a white guy,
you as a white guy have the privilege of saying that racism, and you as a white male.
I'm saying it's an incredible,
I am telling you right now.
Statement as a white guy to sit there and say I would have won with the same policies that she ran on.
As a woman of color, I am telling you that it is incredibly ridiculous for you, with the privilege that being a white male gives you in this country, to say that there wasn't some element of racism.
I think it was
and
terrible
sexism.
policy. But I think if you guys stick with this idea, hold on. If you stick with this plan, which is every time we lose an election, racism has to be involved.
That's not what I just said. I literally gave you a full picture.
Yeah, I just love how Scott's face, man. He just always looks like he needs to keep Tylenol handy when he's on these panels. How? First of all, I shout out here for recognizing that I quoted Beauty and the Beast. That is one of the lines the crazy old Maurice guest on, talking about Bill's father. I don't know. That might be one of the lines I quote the most from the movie. Another one is just shouting out Mrs. Potts, look at us, but there's like really no context where that makes sense ever, but I just love it for some reason. But anyway, Anna Navarro talking to a white guy saying, you're a white guy with privilege and you don't understand, blah, blah, blah. So he can't just make a rational and reasonable observation about the world, about the country, because he's a white male. It's so skewed. His perception's so skewed. He's just living a little privilege where we had this conversation yesterday, didn't we? About privilege and how, people come from all different walks of life. And, I mentioned Theo Vaughn and his joke and how there's people who really struggle in life and don't really have that benefit of, I'm a white person, so I'm up above and ahead or whatever. And there's also different privilege you can run into, obviously, for being a person of color, because apparently you get to go around denying reality. And when someone says the truth, like it's some policies and people didn't like how things were in America, you can just dismiss their argument and talk about some privilege nonsense. And Anna Navarro, I'm a woman of color and you're a white man. It would be different if Kamala Harris wasn't so darn radical. It would be different. Like maybe not even different, but you'd have a better argument if she were, I don't know, close to like a moderate, reasonable sort of person. But you have such a long background of craziness in her, what she's voted on, what she stood for in California while in the Senate. Trump could just get splice video clips of things that she said. I have that 50 reasons video not to vote for Kamala Harris. It's just things that she said and things that she's done. I did not go the route of this person slept with Willie Brown. I didn't do that either. I didn't need to. I hardly ever talked about her race that much. Even like there were conspiracies about her not actually being black. And I know Candace Owens went into that and was like, I have these sources, which I don't really trust conspiracies coming from Candace Owens really, but people were saying that, people were leaning into that. You saw that on different people's different influencers channel. I didn't talk about that. One, I don't know if it's true, and two, it's so not relevant. There's so many other things to focus on, and there were plenty. So Anna Navarro, who's supposed to have been a Republican, like, but you sell your soul, man. I'm sure she gets paid more than 30 pieces of silver, but geez. Just once you become part of the anti-Trump brigade and you amass a following of people who hate his guts, you can't live by actual principles and be honest, because you have a certain audience that you're trying to make them continue clapping and giving you time and money and so on. Anna. White people can say truthful things too. White people can make observations about the world and just state them, and they can be a fact. They can be a fact. These people are nuts. But I do want to play this video from back in the day of 60 Minutes with Joe Biden, since everybody's talking about his cognitive decline. I want to just go back in time a little bit. And this was at least in 2022. Benny Johnson posted this video. In this, I'm looking from the Daily Wire thing, but it looks like Benny Johnson probably originally posted it. So this was at least back in September of 2022. Excuse me. So I'm sure you guys have heard that. If you haven't seen this interview, I'm sure you've probably heard this sound. You've probably seen a snippet of this because this was so viral. This was so viral on TikTok, and people were using it as a sound. And what I mean, people were using it as a sound. People were taking this tail end of this video I'm going to play of Joe Biden and his answer about his mental focus, and people would act it out. They would voice it. They do voiceovers, and they would make a scene with how Joe is speaking, and they would, do all these jump cuts to all this weird stuff to display how chaotic it was. And there were other things that Joe Biden said in different speeches that went viral, but I think this was probably the most viral sound with Joe Biden. And then there's a reason why I'm playing it, but I just want to. It's funny. Like if my sister probably heard me laugh out loud like 40 minutes ago. It was because I was rewatching this video.
You are the oldest president ever.
Pretty good shape, huh?
Which leads to my next question. You are more aware of this than anyone. Some people ask whether you are fit for the job. And when you hear that, I wonder what you think.
Watch me. I mean, honest to God, that's all I think. Watch me. If you think I don't have the energy.
He thought that was such a mic drop. Watch me. As if people were supposed to go, or, it wasn't Joe.
There's your level of mental acuity, then that's one thing. It's another thing of just watch and keep my schedule, do what I'm doing. I think that I don't, when I sit down with our NATO allies and keep them together, I don't have them saying, wait a minute, well, how old are you? What did they say? It's a matter.
It is kind of surreal watching this back, knowing that there were moments when he was like mixing up different people's names or forgetting things, that executive orders and different things that he signed. And he said, well, just watch my schedule and I can keep my schedule. His schedule was so light compared to other folks. So light. And he'd have these short days, and he barely had any interviews or press conferences. I mean, kudos for how many he was doing compared to Kamala Harris. It still kills me that Kamala Harris didn't have an interview for 40 days. And then they're like, how did we lose? Oh, Joe, how can you blame the sexism? Anna, how can you blame the sexism when she didn't even have an interview for the first 40 freaking days of her campaign? She wasted so much time. As Bill Maher said, they had enough time. People got to know her. People didn't like her. It's really that simple. But on top of her bad policies, she just did not run a good campaign. She didn't run a good campaign, man. But Biden's schedule was very, very condensed for his sake. He wasn't like meeting with his full cabinet, and it was very hard for like Mike Johnson to have a meeting with Joe, and people around him kept him very secluded, and it's just laughable. I'm like, just watch my schedule. He has to be led around by his folks, and even when he was like, they had to mark different places where you go with like very with certain kind of tape to keep his directional path, so there were different issues with Joe that had been going on for a while. So it's just surreal watching this back, knowing the things that we have seen, his stunning performance at the debate, and things that people have started confessing in the aftermath of all this.
Matter of, that old expression, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. I mean, I respect the fact that people would say, you're old. But I think it relates to how much energy you have and whether or not the job you're doing is one consistent with what any person of any age would be able to do.
How would you say your mental focus is?
Oh, it's focused. I haven't, look, I have trouble even saying to myself, my own head, the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly. I mean, it's just not, I haven't observed anything in terms of, there's not things I don't do now that I did before, whether it's physical or mental or anything else.
To be fair, Joe Biden has been saying crazy things for a long while, but how can you blow the mental focus question like that? How can you blow the mental focus question like that? Now, I want to remind you guys that the video that was back in 2022, at least. So all these people saying we had no idea until the debate happened, like Jen Psaki and other people are pretending to be ignorant on the matter. Like they we just didn't know, and the press like, oh, we didn't know, and the White House was hiding things. We all saw it on 60 Minutes. What are you talking about? We still went on with this man being the president. Like nothing happened. Like nothing happened. And then they told us there were cheap bakes and all kinds of different stuff. It was in our heads. It was all conspiracy theories, misinformation. When we noticed other things, we point out other things. And this old as fly nonsense happened smack dab in the middle of his presidency. So I just wanted to remind you all of the nonsense. I needed to remind you of the nonsense, okay? Anyway, something going on the Columbia front. There were a bunch of protesters that decided that they were going to take over the campus, and they arrested a lot of folks. Columbia University had different issues like that before, and they're trying to be more on it now, probably because the Trump administration is breathing down their neck, and they're like, you got to protect these students, these Jewish students, and if you don't, you're going to have issues with your money and so on. So the president came out and gave a response that was, good, but it was kind of long, so we're not going to play that. I'm just going to read through this article from Fox. Columbia suspends anti-Israel agitators after takeover, spreading of pamphlets glorifying alleged terrorist. Columbia University has temporarily suspended 65 students after anti-Israel agitators took over a campus building and handed out pamphlets that glorified an alleged terrorist this week. The protesters stormed into Columbia University Butler Library on Wednesday evening, claiming to have renamed the building Basal al-Araj Popular University. According to the NYPD, 80 arrests were made, with 19 males and 61 females being taken into custody by police. 78 of those individuals were issued a desk appearance ticket for criminal trespass, and the other 2 arrested protesters were issued a summons. In addition to the student suspensions, Columbia has also barred an unspecified number of alumni from campus and 33 others from affiliated institutions. At the time, anti-Israeli agitators rushed into the building. Students were studying for final exams. That's another thing that ticks me off about all this stuff and just interrupting people's lives, like this. Like, there's folks just trying to make their place in the world, pass a test, and they have to deal with this nonsense. And I just know how annoyed I would be if I were going to Columbia or any of these universities where all this madness was going on, especially if the administration wasn't doing anything about it, and they were meeting these people's demands and all kind of nonsense. I'd be so ticked off if it were me. I'd be so mad. Protesters were chanting "Free Palestine" and demanding that the university divest from Israel. Some protesters were seen climbing on tables inside the library. During the library takeover, students handed out pamphlets glorifying Basa al-Araj Popular University, an alleged terrorist who was suspected of planning attacks in Israel, according to Times of Israel. Al-Araj was killed by the Israeli Defense Forces and Israeli Police's counterterrorism unit in 2017. Officials allege he was part of a terrorist cell plotting attacks on Israeli targets. He directed the cell and was responsible for purchasing the weaponry, police said at the time. Al-Araj was killed after he opened fire on Israeli authorities during an arrest raid. Columbia University Apartheid Divest, which helped organize the Liberty Takeover, posted a portion of the pamphlet on its X account. Portions of the material handed out to students were posted online, showing the campus groups made a hero out of Al-Araj. Just madness. At the original Popular University project in the West Bank, Basa al-Araj taught about the Palestinian resistance and insisted that knowledge must serve liberation, not empire, reads the pamphlet posted by CU Apartheid Divest. Today, we teach each other the stories our universities refuse to tell. We feed each other, protect each other, learn and inform each other. The Popular University is not only demand for divestment. Included in the pamphlets is a list of demands, which includes divestment from Israel, cops and ICE off our campus, and amnesty for all Columbia University members facing discipline. Claire Shipman, Columbia's acting president, said in a statement Wednesday that NYPD was called to help secure the library. She added that 2 university police officers were injured. Sadly, during the course of this disruption, 2 of our Columbia public safety officers sustained injuries during the crowd surge when individuals attempted to force their way into the building, into room 301. Shipman said these actions are outrageous. In a separate statement, Shipman called the library takeover as unacceptable. Disruptions to our academic activities will not be tolerated, and our violations of our rules and policies. This is especially unacceptable while our students study and prepare for final exams. Columbia strongly condemns violence on our campus, anti-Semitism, and all forms of hate and discrimination, some of which we witnessed today. We are resolute that calls for violence or harm have no place at our university. So I'm glad that, they called the police and arrested the folks, and, there's suspensions and other things going on. But if they don't do some stuff to make it really stick, they'll be back again. I mean, these people, somebody's funding these people, paying these people, and, arranging these people. There's some kind of, driving force for their ideology in coordination with all the stuff going on. But start arresting some folks and really hammering down on them. But I don't know. These things keep happening in like blue areas, so I'm I don't know how harsh everything's going to be. But the Trump administration was, did want the people's fingerprints to see what was the immigration status of some of these folks, so they could know whether or not they're going to deport them, revoke their green cards and other things like that. So I just can't imagine being a student just wanting to get my degree and everybody's acting crazy and disrupting and taking over the library and locking people in places and all kind of nonsense. I just can't imagine it. So my heart goes out to the students who just are trying to live life and who are annoyed and terrified and have to just deal with this nonsense. And then knowing that you have to spend, or rather your parents have to spend so much money for you to go to these places, and for the madness just keep continuing. It's just really insane. I did see this meme this is a kind of moving on here that I wanted to talk about. And so one of my mutuals had retweeted this, and because there's some really hateful folks who are far on the right or say that they're right. We're definitely not conservative or Christian or whatever. But this person, appropriately named Garbage Human, said nobody can refute this, and 20 million new Carmelo Anthonys, and there's abortion in keeping apparently society safe. And some of these comments are there's ones condemning it, like they are still humans, my brother. And here's someone saying, I've always asked this of pro-lifers, what would the demographic population of America look like if there'd never been any abortions? Someone said, solid point. I don't know why right-wingers are the most anti-abortion. Bro, let them remove themselves. Are you stupid? I hate when people say stuff like this. It's so evil. It's so evil. And this person, I assume, is like a groper or whatever, one of like a Nick Fuentes groupie saying this stuff. But there's folks who I've seen this argument or this point online before, and it's just gross. Like, do you value life? Do you believe humans are inherently valuable? Are they made in the image of God? I don't know, not everybody believes that, but if you do believe it, if you believe in the Christian God anyway, that's the case. We're all made in the image of God. That we're all one in Christ. No Jew or Greek, Gentile, whatever. And people are just convinced that if we had more abortions, we keep getting rid of these people in poverty and so on. But what if there was a study that I pointed out in my book where they looked at crime rates and stuff, and they realized that abortion restriction, or more access to abortion actually increases crime. And you might say, but what about all these people who are having babies, and a lot of them are Black, and a lot of them are in poverty, and so on, and then those kids grow up and they do crime and stuff. But with the access of abortion, people are more laxed on actual prevention, and they're more laxed about who they sleep around with, and they engage in more reckless behavior because they have that option to abort. But not everybody at the end of the day is going to. So when that is off the table, people make more responsible decisions about their lives. But here's the overall issue, though. If you have people who just don't value life, and you don't teach that there's a value of life, even when it's someone the most innocent who hasn't done anything, you think people are going to feel like they need to protect life when that person is older? When you're some person on the street, maybe they want your shoes and you won't give it to them, so they'll shoot you. Like, you have to teach people to value life, to value the humanity in all of us, to know that it's wrong to deprive someone of their future conscious experience. You have to ingrain that in people. But if you ingrain in people that it's okay to take someone else's life when you want something, when it benefits you, you think that ideology just ends when it comes to abortion? You think it's only there? When people are saying, I can kill my kids because it's inconvenient to me, you think that ideology is only reserved for abortion? Like, I know people do all this special pleading in cases of abortion, but that stuff bleeds into other facets of life. So, yeah, there'd be a lot of Black people around who wouldn't have been killed. Abortion disproportionately kills Black people. That's true. And in Michigan, I've mentioned the stat of where like 56% of the abortions, only 14% of the population. If we didn't have all these abortions, if abortion was illegal, then maybe we wouldn't be 14%, maybe it'd be higher. But if we did teach people that life was valuable and that sex is meaningful and that it should happen within a marriage and you shouldn't just be sleeping around with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. If those were the values that we're instilling in people, then you wouldn't have a lot of these crime issues and poverty issues either. So this dysfunction that they hate and they're trying to make a black-white issue are things that they're just feeding into. Those are things that you're just feeding into. On that Piers Morgan segment we watched the other day with the girl who was saying she didn't mind saying the N-word and she said it all the time and stuff. There was Myron, the guy from Fresh and Fit. I didn't play this clip and I had just seen it today. And he was talking about how, black people don't want to live around black people, because of this small, percentage of them commit so much crime. So, people want to live around white communities and so they don't want to live in black communities. And the truth is that people want to live in nicer communities because they don't want the the after effect of people living in poverty and doing ignorant, evil stuff to spill over into their neighborhood and stuff. You do something in the suburbs, some police are there very quick. I used to live in Clarkston, and that's a suburb in Michigan. And when we first moved in, we had a van, a big white van, and my dad was just parked outside of our house and the police came. Like, people were so quick to call the police. And that was like not the first time the police got called on my dad. He's just like, man, he's like, I'm right outside my house. And the police were very apologetic. And they're like, these people are just so jumpy. But there were actually like people who go, because it was like it was in a subdivision and there were people, building a lot of homes and stuff. And so there were people who would try to sneak into the different houses and they'd still like water heaters and things like that. So I think those people kind of had vans or whatever, but that was our van. We had a family of 9. So, the van could carry us all. People, another thing people were suspicious about, I was learning how to drive, and this guy in my church was helping me out and teaching. He taught me, and then he taught my sister Sabrina. And so, we'd just drive around the neighborhood. And so sometimes we'd be pulling in and out of people's driveways, and so like, there's people driving in and out of our driveways, backing up, and we don't recognize these people. So there's a funny story because the cops did like pull them over and stuff, but yeah, those people are quick, and those police come fast. They come quickly. They come quick. So there's definite benefits from living in certain areas, but there are pockets of places where Black people are very educated and they're engineers and they're into the science fields, STEM, and it's just normal. It's just normal. They're not criminals. It's just normal that they're in those fields. That's how they were raised, and that's how they are raising other people. My sister was telling me about this one Black woman. She did, like, growing up, she didn't know any Black people who weren't into what she was into, because that was her neighborhood. So it's really not a Black-white thing, but a lot of people do want to live in the suburbs rather than the hood. Like, we go visit my grandma on the east side of Detroit. They, be like, lock your cars, make sure nothing's visible. The people can come in and steal. But that's not a racial thing. It's not a racial thing. So these people who are so obsessive about it, who just keep spreading more pro-white, anti-black agenda stuff, you're not helping. You're not helping. You're just part of the problem. We should want to save innocent people. Period. And Anthony Carmelo and them, he had a 2-parent home anyway. So I'm not sure. I don't know all their whole family dynamic, but just kind of looking at stuff, it doesn't seem typical. So you just want to get rid of all black children? Like, it is likely that his parents never thought of aborting or anything like that. So unless you're just saying we just need to get rid of all the blacks, I don't know where you're going with your meme. Anyway, let us pray for the country. Let us pray. Let us pray. I got church tonight. We shall pray for the nation. Thank you guys for joining me today. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content, the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the site, because it does cost a stream, run the site, and all that stuff. So you guys can support. I very much do appreciate you guys. You guys can check out different merch that's available, like Pro-Choice Men, our sus, like Myron. And he was talking about how violent black people are, and I'm just like, bro, you defended your buddy who tried to make his girlfriend get an abortion. Just like, shut up, bro. You're not a good person. But you guys can check out different merch there. You guys can also check out my books. I have links in the description. I'll take you to like an Amazon page where you guys can check out some of my books. So go ahead and pick up, some goodies. I got mostly fiction books, but I have some nonfiction books and so on. Again, I will be out next week. I'll be at Motor City Comic Con on the weekend. So if you guys are in the area, I'll be on Artist Alley, and I look forward to telling you guys how it all was. But be good. Keep make sure that you guys are hitting the notification bells, so when I post a video or something, you'll get notified. Though I don't think YouTube is great at it. They don't have show me stuff of folks I'm subscribed to myself. So I don't know what it is with this platform, but I thank you guys for being here, being live, and those who watch back. But I will see you after my Comic-Con, which will be I guess it'll be the 19th is when I'll stream again live. So God bless, and I'll see you guys then.